Because you are the only one in the class today. Sheikh Mehboob, are you there? Can you hear me, please? Respond. Can you please respond? Are you there? Sheikh Mehboob. So shall we begin the class? Is my audio, voice is clear? Is my voice clear to all of you? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Did you have any other class before this one?
No, sir. This is our first class
This is your
today.
first.
Today.
Okay. Okay, it's right. Anyway, today the strength is very less, so let's begin the class. Yesterday we had a talk about three prominent texts from Indian English literature, and those texts were like Untouchable was there, written by Murkraj Anand. Then we also had a discussion about two other texts. One was The Quilt, written by Ismat Chugtai, and the third one was, does anybody of you remember that?
No, sir. Yesterday I didn't attend the class.
You didn't attend the class.
Yes, sir. Yesterday I didn't attend the class.
Okay. Anyway, we had a discussion about Train to Pakistan, written by Kushwant Singh. So we discussed about three important texts from block 2. Today we have two texts to discuss, and those texts are, let me share. Yesterday we had a discussion about Train to Pakistan. Yes. So yesterday we had a discussion about Train to Pakistan. Then we have a discussion about Untouchable, written by Mukesh Anand, and a short story written by Ismat Chutte, that is The Quilt. So we had a discussion about that one. Today we are going to talk about Mother of 1084. Mother of 1084 is also a prominent and very famous novel written by Mahasweta Devi. Mahasweta Devi is actually a Bengali writer, and this particular novel was first written in Bengali. Then it was translated into English, and the Bengali title is Hajar Chaurasi Ma. Ma means obviously mother, Hajar means 1000, and 84 is equal to Chaurasi in Bengali. So Hajar Chaurasi Ma is the actual title, and later it was translated as it is in English, was translated as Mother of 1084. And this is a very beautiful novel, and this novel actually deals with the Naxalite movement. The Naxalite movement of that time during the period of Congress regime in India. So let's first know about something about the author, that is Mahasweta Devi. Mahasweta Devi is actually a Bengali writer that I mentioned. So she was an Indian writer in Bengali and as an activist as well. Her notable literary works includes Hajar Chaurasi Ma, that is, Mother of 1084, then Rudali, Aranya Adhikar. Aranya Adhikar means the right of forest. These works are in Bengali, and later on these works were translated into English. And she was also a leftist. Okay, she was a leftist, and that's why you will also find in the story, in this particular story, she has a point of view regarding leftist ideologies, who worked for the rights and empowerment of the tribal people. And those tribal people were like the Lodhas and Sabars of West Bengal, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, states of India. She was honored with various literary awards, such as the Sahitya Academy Award in Bengali, Janavit Award, and Raman Magsaysay Award, along with India's civilian award Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan. Padma Vibhushan. All these awards were given to her because of her excellence in writing and also in social field. Okay, because she was an activist. Okay, and now in this particular novel, it's a story about a particular mother who was recollecting the memories of her child, or rather you can say of her son, who was murdered uh, by the government because the government was thinking that that boy was involving in an illegal activity against the state, against the country. So that's why he was murdered, and he was sent to the morgue where his dead body number was 1084. And this mother had a struggle to find out her son, and later on she was recollecting her memories day by day. And this particular novel is actually about that struggle. So I have briefly mentioned over here that what is the story of the plot line over here. Okay, and after that we will have a talk about the themes as well, that what kind of theme we can explore from this particular novel. So Hajar Chaurasi Ma, the Mother of 1084, is a story of a mother whose name was Sujata and whose son was Brati. Okay, Brati or Broti, whatever you want to say. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so it's a story about a mother whose name was Sujata and her son, that is Brati or Broth. Corpse number 1084. That is the dead body number. In the morgue, was brutally killed by the state because of his ideology of advocating the brutal killing of the class enemies, collaborators with the state, and counter-revolutionaries within the party. Now the thing is that there was a movement in India, especially the states that I have mentioned above, and these movements were about and they were targeted because of their Naxalite, involvement. Right now, also we have such kind of news here and there, but during that time it was very high or in the peak level. And during the time of maybe Indira Gandhi, a lot of people were being killed because of their involvement in such kind of activities. There are certain movies as well. You can see and watch those movies. And this particular novel is about that involvement of young childs who were spoiling their life, involving in some political ideologies. As I mentioned yesterday, that when I was talking about Train to Pakistan, that people are being mobilized, people are being monitorized, okay, brainwashing is happening, and all these kind of activities are going on only not because that okay, the people or the youth, those who are being involving in such kind of activities are going to be benefited in future. No, it's not for them, not for their sake. It's for the sake of the political gain of such or some political leaders who wants to keep their power, keep their strength, or keep their position. Okay. So this fight is not for the benefit of the people of the common people of India, but for the benefit of the political leaders to keep their power for a long period of time. Right now also you can also see that okay, there are some gangs are also there. You will find them every day in the newspaper who are participating in every kind of activities, right? In killing, okay, they're participating in mob lynching and other kind of activities as well. But the government is very silent for them because they are somehow connected to the government. Okay. So this kind of activities was also happening during that time. But I have no clue about whether these people were good or bad. But they were brutally killed by the government because they were going against the government. Okay. And it has been directly mentioned in the novel. So those people are brutally killed by the state, okay, by the state because of their ideology of advocating the brutal killing of class enemies. Class enemies means the system that we have in the upper class and lower class societies. That okay, the people those who are belonging to the lower class or lower caste, they are not supposed to, because the last three novels were also talking about this kind of things. In those last novels, we were talking about the class system and the caste system in India. So in India, we have caste system where we have four castes. The upper caste are the Brahmins, then we have Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So if you're talking about the lower classes like the Shudras, they are the untouchable, and that is the theme of that particular novel, Untouchable, written by Mulk Raj Anand. Okay. So here as well, in this particular novel, there was a conflict between the upper classes and the lower classes. So these lower classes, the people, Sujata and her son Brati, these people actually belonging to the lower classes. These people are belonging to the lower classes, and that's why they had a conflict, and somehow this boy was involving to take revenge with the upper classes. Okay, so they were trying to actually erase the class enemies, that is the upper classes. Okay, collaborators with the state and counter revolutionaries within the party. The story starts on the eve of Brati's death anniversary. So it's not the day when the boy was murdered, but it was the day of his anniversary, first anniversary. when the story starts, when Sujata recollects her son starting from his birth. And there she was actually recollecting the memories of her son from birth to the time when he was in the morgue, bearing the number 1084. Okay. She meets Brati's close accomplice and tries to justify Brati's action and his revolutionary mentalities. She was so desperate that, okay, people were actually scolding, even though uh, her son was dead or murdered, people were actually mocking at her that, okay, it was because he was involved in some criminal activity, that's why he was murdered. But her mother, the bereaved mother, was not trusting anybody's words. She was of the view that, okay, her son was innocent, and that's why she was trying to meet with her son's friends so that she can justify that her son was an innocent and his murder was actually a pre-planned activity by the state government. So throughout the story, she is portrayed as a strong woman who fought against the odds or the oddities. She is advised to forget her son. Okay, she was advised to forget her son and see what the people of that time was actually telling her, that you should forget about your son, as people like her son are what are we often called cancerous growth on the body of democracy. So when she was trying to justify the activity of his son's involvement in a particular party or in a small uh, ideology, people were saying that, okay, you should forget about him because he was involved in such an activity which is known as or very often called as cancerous growth on the body of democracy. Okay, so here that boy was a cancer according to the people, those who had actually killed him. But his bereaved mother was not of the view that, okay, she was not going to believe it or trust anybody of them. So mother knows the pain of losing a son, okay, a young son. So it's a story of a mother as she relieves years later the death of her son in the political upheaval that left almost no home untouched. So it was not the case of only of that Sujata's son, okay, because the number itself is showing that, okay, if Sujata's son or Brati's dead body is the number of 1084, that means there were also 1083 dead bodies were also there. So it was not a small killing, it was a huge killing as well. It was a massacre, okay, done by the state government, not by a a gang of goons or by other kind of activities. The terror that has been spreaded during the time was spreaded by the government. So that's why it was not only Brati, but there were also n number of lashes, okay, n number of dead bodies, corpses. However, the mother of 1084 also portrays the other faces of the human stories that emanated from the restless political adventures of the vibrant Bengali youth, which was ruthlessly cowed by the Congress government until the Communist Party displaced them, and who then again themselves ruthlessly cowed their opponents, the same Bengali youth. So this kind of activity was going on in the particular state, especially in Bengal, till the time the political party called that the Communist Party displaced them from their position. Okay, so this kind of activity was going on. So this is the story of this particular novel, and it's a very beautiful novel. There are some other many characters who are also there, like Sujata's husband is there. That man is not from the family, but from that goon who killed a lot of people during that time. So we can also say that, okay, his father, Brati's father, is also responsible for the killing of his son, because he's there in the political, teams, and he was also part of that killing. And there is also another character like Brati's girlfriend was there, Nandini. She was also from that same class or caste system, you can say. So there was also a very, mm, what can I say, like a simultaneous story was also going on regarding, Brati and Nandini. But later on, as the author had to, portray the pain of the mother, that's why Brati and Nandini's story is not so much important in compared to Sujata and Brati. Okay, so this was the plot about Mother of 1084, written by Mahasweta Devi. And the theme of this particular novel is Naxalite movement is obviously one of the theme. Then class systems is also one of the theme. You can talk about uh, the political upheavals of that particular time. And some of the motifs are like, cancer. Then you can talk about death. 1084 is also a motif, okay, that has been used by the author. And it has been written uh, in a very systematic way, and the method, or you can say the theory that has been used, is social realism, to depict the social atmosphere around us, what was happening in the atmosphere, that has been narrated in a beautiful way. And it's true that, okay, if you read the main text, that is the Bengali text, that will give you more charm if you know Bengali. Otherwise, English version is also very good. You can also go through that one. But yes, as I'm from West Bengal, so I can read the Bengali text, and that charms most than the English one. Anyone, let's move to the next text. That is Nagamandala, written by Girish Karnad. It's a play. It's a two-act play. So let's talk about that one. If you have any doubt regarding this one, we can talk about it later on. Now let's move to that one. Sorry for the inconvenience. Actually, I had a call to pick up. Anyway, so let's talk about the next play. Next play means next literary text, that is Nagamandala. And so let's talk about it. Nagamandala is a play, PX play, written by Girish Karnad. And Girish Karnad is an Indian playwright who is very famous in Kannada industry and film industry, Hindi film industry, Kannada film industry, because he's a playwright, he's an actor, he's a performer, and he's also a very good writer. Okay. So this Nagamandala is a two-act play written by the well-known Indian playwright and actor Girish Karnad. Maybe his last movie was Ek Tha Tiger by Salman Khan, casted by Salman Khan. In that particular movie, he acted for the last time. After that, he died probably. And so Nagamandala is a two-act play written by Girish Karnad in 1987 and 88 and published in 1988. Nagamandala means a play with cobra. Okay. So it's probably actually a Kannada term, but if you will go down to the history of languages, you will find that this particular word is actually taken from Sanskrit root. Okay, so Nagamandala, which means actually a play with cobra. It was basically a Kannada play, then was translated into English. The play blends history with mythical elements. So if you read this particular play, you'll get to know that there is a mixture of history, the past of our ancestors and our life and culture. Along with that, you will find some mythical stories as well, that is myth like mythologies as we have. The story is taken from a Kannada folklore which Karnad heard from the poet A.K. Ramanujan. So A.K. Ramanujan is also a great poet of the Indian continent who has written some very good poems. Like one of the poems is like Obituary. That poem is about a very short, news given in a newspaper about the death of a person. Like just 2 lines, 2 or 3 lines. So as we have like, okay, we have some posters, banners. The front page will be covered by some of the advertisements of a company, or you will see that, okay, there are a number of pictures of the celebrities. But when a person who served for the country, like an army or, a BS or a border forces are there, navies are there. If you will see that, okay, they have died, you will see a very small picture has been given out there and have written some condolences, and that's enough. So that point is about that one. So A.K. Ramanujan is also very famous. There are 2 A.K. Ramanujans over here. One is a poet, another one is a mathematician. So we have 2 A.K. Ramanujans. And this particular story actually heard from that particular poet by Girish Karnad. So the particular play actually, Nagamandala hangs around Rani, the protagonist, and her husband's indifferent attitude towards her and her incognizant affair with King Cobra. Okay. So this particular play is about Rani and her husband and the indifferent attitude towards her and her incognizant affair with King Cobra. Okay. Rani loses her husband Appana to a concubine and becomes anxious about the situation. Kurudava. Okay, there are many words. Maybe they are related to either Sanskrit or Kannada, which may I have some difficulty to pronounce. Please excuse me for them. So Rani loses her husband Appana to a concubine and becomes anxious about the situation. That is Kurudava, an old blind lady, advises Rani to use two magical roots, two magical roots. Now see the introduction or the inculcation of magical roots by that Kurudava is actually the introduction of mythical stories, or bringing some mythical elements uh, into this particular text of the story. A small one and a big one, which can enchant her husband back to herself. So when Rani found that okay, her husband is going to uh, left her because of the concubine, and she was so desperate and anxious that okay, she was unable to think what she is going to do. That's what during that time only, Urudua was an old blind lady who suggested her to go through some mythical treatments. Okay, and those treatments, one was the big one, another one is the small one, through which she is going to get her back. Okay, when the small one fails, so okay, the first one was the small one which failed. She decided to use the big one, but she is reluctant to fascinate her husband by this way. Okay, when the old lady said that okay, if you will use these two roots or tools, your husband will be enchanted by you only. Okay, but when the first root was failed, she was going for the second, the big one. She said that okay, I am not interested to enchant my husband in this way. She determines to allure Apana the other way by love and affection instead. Okay. So if you are going to do Jadu Tona, all these kind of things, it's not going to be a pure affection. It's not going to be pure love. What you are seeking is a kind of selfish activity, right? So that's why she was determining that okay, I'm going to allure, I'm going to get his attraction not by enchanting or using such kind of totka quacks things, but by real affections and love. So she pours the paste of root mixed in curry into an ant hill where a king cobra consumes it. Okay. So she poured the paste of the fruit mixed in a curry into an ant hill where a king cobra consumes it. Okay. The king cobra Naga assumes the presence of Apana and replaces it at nights. Rani gets pregnant by the Naga. Apana gets enraged by her suspicious conception and brings Rani to village elders where she takes oath on a cobra on the advice of Naga. The elders believes her to be of divine birth as the cobra moves around her neck like a garland and her innocence is proved. Apana finally accepts her and the child and they lead a happy life. Okay, so this was what happened. Okay, so instead of pouring it or mixing it with the food of Apana, she poured it on that hill where that king cobra was living, and he was that particular snake got attracted and he took the shape of that particular man and then had a child. This is the actual story of this one. But there are two acts, we can go through that one as well. Otherwise, uh, this is a detailed story that I have written over here. You can also go through it. Like, yes, from the third line, the story begins over here. So she married a man named Apana. Apana always locked Rani inside the room. So it is a detail, in detail I have mentioned over here. So she was married a man named Appana, and Appana always locked, the spelling is wrong over here, locked Rani inside the room, and he spends most of his time outside with a concubine. He comes home only once a day at lunchtime over here. So, see, as the case is with Appana, similarly the case with was Sujata's husband as well. That man was also coming once in a month, once in a year, only to have a child or only to have some, physical, to satisfy some physical desires with Sujata, but his father. That man was, involving in some criminal activities as well, but from the side of the political parties. Okay, so that's why he didn't have to face any kind of, brutal killing, but he was part of the killing. He was not part of the group who were being brutally killed. Why I'm saying, because like Appana, he was also not careful about his own family and family members. So here he always locked Rani inside the room, and he spends most of his time outside with a concubine. He comes home only once a day at lunchtime. Appana does not love her wife, even though he has no interest to talk with her. Whenever Rani tries to talk with Appana, he shuts her up by saying he has no interest in her talks. So the relationship between the husband and wife was not so good, and that's why the protagonist Rani was little bit anxious in the beginning. Okay, so one day an old blind woman Kurudava comes near Appana's home with her son Kappana. Okay, she talks to Rani and learns about her bad situation of living at her home alone. Kurudava admires her beauty and informs her about Appana's love affair. Kurudava decides to help Rani in getting her husband's love by giving her magical roots. Rani was happy by hearing Kurudava's plan. Kurudava gave her two magical roots. Rani first mixed the small root with milk and gave Appana to consume. When this fails, but it was of no use, it does not work, then she thought to give him the big root. She made the big magical root in curry. It changed the color of the curry. She was afraid to give him this red colored curry, so she pours it outside the home on an ant hill where a king cobra lives. The cobra consumes the curry, and as it was not a normal curry, so the Naga falls in love with Rani, and it starts to visit Rani every night in form of Appana. Rani was happy because she thought that her husband had changed his mentality, and now he does not scold her and treated her like a queen. But during the day, Appana, her husband, treats her like his servant. So she was also anxious about this one, that what is happening between the day and the night. Because at night he is behaving like I'm the queen, but in the day again she is behaving with me like I'm a servant. Thus Appana's behavior changes day and night, because at night it was Naga in the form of Appana, and during the day the real Appana comes home. So Rani thinks that it was her dream that Appana visits her at night. So that's why she was thinking that it could be a dream, that okay, Appana, when I am staying with her or sleeping with Appana at night, maybe it was a dream, and the dream was so lively that it marks a great sign in my mind. So Rani thinks that it was her dream that Appana visits her at night, but after a few months, Rani comes to know that she is pregnant, and then she realized that it was not only her dream, but actually, really Appana visited her at night. When she informs her about it, her husband Appana was frightened at Rani and dragged her to Panchayat. So during that time, Panchayat was like, under a tree, people will be sitting over there. There will be, a man who is going to pass some judgments about some activities that has been done or about some offenses that has been done by the convict. So he accused Rani that she has extramarital affairs with some other person. That's why she is pregnant, because he did not have marital relations with her. But Rani claims that the unborn infant's father is Appana. Then in the panchayat, the village elders suggest that Rani would have to pass through an ordeal to prove her innocence. To prove her innocence, Rani goes to the ant hill and takes the naga in her hand and says, as Naga had suggested to her, the turned like a garland over her neck. Then it sealed through her soldier and did not bite her. Thus her innocence was proved. Afterwards, the villagers considered Rani as a goddess. It was a magical and miracle thing for the villagers because they had never had such kind of experience. Thus her innocence was proved. Afterward, the villagers considered Rani as a goddess, and Appana had to accept her with a child. But Appana was still in confusion because he knew that he was not the father of that child, but he had no choice except to accept her. Some days later, one day Naga thought to see Rani, so he went to the home where he found her with Appana. The Naga was very furious to see that, so it decided to kill Rani, but out of love it stopped and turned into a small cobra and hid in her long hair. In the morning when Rani combs her hair, the dead Naga falls and the play ends. Okay. So instead of killing Rani, the Naga was also out of affection and out of love, did not kill her. Instead of killing, it had a plan that, okay, I will be, reducing my size and I will be hiding myself in her hairs. So when she will come, I may die through the, heat of that comb. So this was the end of the play. And this particular play is completely fictional, and it's talking about a myth, a Kannada myth that has been, first heard by Girish Karnad from the famous or noted poet A.K. Ramanujan. So if you have time, please go through the questions of both this text, Nagamandala and how, Mother of 1084. There is also a beautiful text by Padmala Manjunath. Sorry. Manjula Padmanabhan. Yes, Manjula Padmanabhan. And the text is Harvest. That particular text is about a business or an illegal activity of selling human organs or forcing people to sell their human organs. She has written another novel like Lights Out. That novel is about, sorry, that play is about the street molestation or rape, and those novels are actually based on both of the plays are based on some real life incidents. So we are going to talk about that one in the next class, and before that I will be reaching to Hyderabad, and once I'll get the materials once again about the books. So we will start with the theme that we left in the first block, and then we will start the other text. Okay. If you have any doubt regarding this, and one more thing is that yesterday also I forgot to say, share the notes, and the problem was I asked somebody the number that I sent. I asked somebody in WhatsApp to check whether he is from that batch or not, but I didn't get the response, so that's why I didn't forward the notes yet. If you really need, please drop your number. I will forward it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'll forward the notes to any one of you, those who have shared the number, and all of you please forward the note with others. Or if you have a WhatsApp group, you can forward it to that group as well. Okay.
Yes, sir. We shall do that.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.